Kingdom Come Deliverance, the only medieval game that truly makes you feel like a 15th century peasant. I'm not really sure how to structure videos correctly, and this game has a lot of exposition, so we're starting with the intro cutscene, this way you know what's going on. It's not gonna make this any less confusing, but I'm doing it anyway. This guy, Charles IV, was a great king who led his kingdom to prosperity, but one day he messed up his morning triple backflip and immediately died, meaning his throne was inherited by his son, Wenceslas. So Wenceslas, who's now the current king, is a much more useless version of his father, and he skipped his coronation to play League, and half of that is true. The game opens with a breathtaking opening shot, some weird looking dogs, and a medieval schizophrenic who waves at the camera. When we wake up, our first conversation defines our starting characteristics depending on what we say. I always love it when I wake up on a random Wednesday, and my first conversation of the day defines my entire life up to that point. This game's kinda slow, not in a bad way, but in a way that will make this video even more boring than it would normally be, so I'm gonna try and go over some stuff pretty fast, and you're gonna sit there and not click off this video, okay? Since we need to go talk to our father and get assaulted by a tutorial, now seems like the perfect time to explain persuasion. Don't worry, you don't have to read all this, I'm gonna make it really simple. Persuasion depends on the stat you're using. Speech, charisma, or strength. All of these stats are level based, as well as being affected by things like reputation or how dangerous you look. People will respond differently depending on if you're wearing some of that medieval Louis Vuitton, or if you look like you just crawled out of the nearest ditch. Different types of people may be more or less difficult to deal with depending on their personality and stats. For instance, we might have trouble intimidating a brawler or lying to an American politician. And if you're covered in blood, it might even help out a little bit. I'll have to try that out next time I go to the store. The better you know someone, the more information you'll have about those three stats, which is interesting because I'm talking to our father right now and all of these are unknown, leading me to wonder if this is just some strange, scared man we're talking to who has no idea who we are. The strange man with the funny looking hat gives us a few errands to get done before we forge a sword for the castle's lord, Sir Radvig. These three clowns try and peer pressure us into trashing some guy's house for the honor of the king, but I have much more important things to be doing, like gambling away my life savings. I've won my first gambling match. This can lead nowhere but up. I did have to sell all my clothes, but just because I have no money left to gamble doesn't mean I won't keep trying. Remember, 99% of gambling addicts quit right before their big win. Anyway, I finished all the chores, so I'm going back to forge that sword. We talk again to the strange man and get the sword assembled when Sir Radvig stops by. I know you already forgot who he is, but don't worry, it's all good, he's the lord of the castle. Anyway, he compliments his new sword and heads out while we finish up sharpening it.
He always says his knees ache when there's a storm coming.
Is that foreshadowing I hear? Oh, so it was. Man, this is pretty sad. I have no idea who that guy is, since clearly I just met him today, but still. Unfortunately, we can't make it into the castle gates in time before they close, and we're forced to run away behind the castle and steal this horse. As we're running away, three soldiers start chasing us with bows and quite a few arrows, but they decide to shoot us one time in the leg over the entire distance to the next castle. It's lucky those guys chasing us didn't have long-range weapons used on horseback that shoot long-range projectiles. That could have been bad. Since there's an entire army going around sacking castles, we go up to the lord of this new castle, Sir Divish, and warn him. Once that's done, we head out onto the battlements to keep watch when Sir Radzig arrives, having escaped the siege because of the storm. He asks if we want to come with him, but we tell him we want to go back and bury our parents first, and he's not a huge fan of this idea, something about it being a war zone, I don't know, didn't seem important, but he did order Sir Divish not to let us out of the castle until things are safer.
These are dark times.
Yeah, I mean it is currently nighttime, so I'm sure that contributes to it. So let's go over the situation really quick. We've been ordered to stay at the castle, we probably won't even be allowed to get out if we tried, and if we want to bury our parents we need to go into the aftermath of a war zone that most likely has soldiers, or at least people looting the aftermath. So with all this information we've drawn the conclusion that we should go bury our parents. But how are we gonna get out, I hear you ask? Fear not, my sweet prince, I have a plan. I'm gonna talk to the guard at the exit and ask him very nicely to let me through. I don't see why I wouldn't be cool with it.
You especially are not to be let out.
Don't worry, I paid him a bunch of money and he says if I find a disguise, he'll let me out. So we quickly scamper our way up to the barracks and grab a guard's uniform.
I've never seen you before in my life.
Ah, of course, the good old dementia strategy works every time. You may be wondering though, did we bring the super valuable sword to somewhere we could easily lose it, or have it get stolen? No, of course not, that would be incredibly stupid. After doing a little crawling around, we find our parents in the same spot they died. Obviously, what are they gonna do, move? Oh no, we're about to get mugged by the Thugmeister and his goons. The Thugmeister decides to challenge us to a fight, but don't worry, I'll just win. Thank God we brought that sword to defend ourselves, otherwise we could have had a real problem there. Don't worry though, someone from the village appears like medical debt in the US and makes the bandits disappear like a healthcare CEO. We get carted away on this wagon and it takes us all the way to this new castle, and more specifically this guy's house.
Hey, you. You're finally awake.
I can have a dog? 10 out of 10 game. Would recommend, worth triple the price. Now we've scampered our way back to the new castle that Sir Radvig is at. After both failing to bury our parents and losing his sword, the priest has some input on the situation.
Still, it's a great shame your parents are buried in unconsecrated ground. That means purgatory for them.
Ah, of course, Your Holiness. I do have a question though. Have you ever considered killing yourself? Currently, I'm going hunting as a servant to the heir of the castle we're staying at. The story is truly reaching some high points.
What? Are you mad? It's still dark.
Oh, yeah, silly me, it's clearly still pitch black outside. When we come back from the hunt, we're told bandits came and raided a nearby horse farm, killing a few people but not stealing anything, so we're sent to investigate. Unfortunately, I forgot to record, and I have nothing to show you for the beginning of this section, so I'll just sum it up really quick. It'll be just like an audiobook. We asked around the area to see if anyone knew anything, and eventually head over to the nearby forest where we find the body of a dead bandit and the murder weapon, which was a bloody hoofpick. We head back to the farm, only to learn that a villager who's been acting really suspicious left the area to some charcoal burners, and after tracking him down, he tells us about a guy with a limp who we find murdered in his house. Apparently, Limpenstein had a bad conscience because of all the crime he was committing and talked to the town priest. Unfortunately, the town priest refuses to tell us what Limpenstein said because it was told to him in the sanctity of the confessional, but he does agree to meet us in the tavern later to see if there are any workarounds. No, don't mind me. I just need some of that money you have on you. Oh my god, this must be the peasant king. He's absolutely stacked. Don't worry, sir, this money will be going to a great cause. Yeah, I'm definitely just gonna use it for gambling. There's a lot of monologuing, but in the end, the priest gets drunk and can't preach, but says if we preach the sermon in his place, he'll tell us what Limpenstein said. Good men and women of the church, to quote the passage Ched Brads in 1322, thou shalt subscribe to my YouTube channel. Anyway, we got the information from the pastor, and it turns out Limpenstein wasn't a huge fan of the killing, so he split from his gang along with a few of the people he recruited. But it seems like they're all being hunted down by the main bandits, so we should probably try and get to them first. Currently, we're headed to Ledechko, where we should be able to track down another one of the runaways. Some people say this game has clunky combat, but I personally don't really see it. We're basically doing the same thing over again, where we talk to a few people, search around, then talk to a few more people, and then we find where he is. But he doesn't want to tell us where the main bandit camp is, even though we just saved him from the people sent to hunt them down. Oh, wait, it looks like he's changed his mind. Also, he looks like he got beat up for information because he tripped, no other reason. Calling this abandoned camp is crazy. They have battlements, and since the camp is bigger than expected, we go report back to Radzig so we can start the attack, reclaim the sword that was stolen from us, and finally take revenge on the Thugmeister. Haha, just kidding. Of course he wouldn't have the sword. Why would the guy who took the sword have the sword? That would make way too much sense. It's much more likely that the guy in this ominous cutscene is the one with the sword, and also who the Thugmeister answered to. Damn, where's my horse? I really hope he isn't doing that thing again where he shows up right behind me. A bunch of fake silver coins made of copper and only coated in silver is discovered in the bandit camp, and they're probably the ones creating it. So our new goal is to try and figure out who's doing it and how. This video is already tedious enough, so I'm not going to tell you about all the running around I had to do, but all you need to know is we're pretty sure all the silver and quicksilver needed to make fake coins is being sourced and possibly created in Sasau. Thief, hey, stop right there! Ah, that warm feeling you get when you kill a man in cold blood for 6 entire coins. We asked around, and apparently there's a blacksmith who bought up all the copper as well as keeping villagers awake by working through the night. And the monastery keeps lacking supplies of quicksilver that a mural artist needs. Now, if you have brain cells, that might seem a little suspicious to you. We talked to this man who says a couple people threatened him and forced him to give them their stock of quicksilver, so the monastery is definitely supplying quicksilver to the bandits.
Of course, by simple observation, you'll note that this is not currently the case, and I'm here alone. Which means that either I'm a liar or something out of the ordinary has occurred.
I don't know they had Redditors in the 1400s. At this point, you know the drill. We went around and talked to a few people until we found the guy we were looking for and then arrested him. After questioning the guy we arrested, he tells us he answered to someone much higher up who is likely just a middleman, so it seems like we have a lot more running around to do. After returning to Sasa, we need to infiltrate a bandit gang, and after meeting with them, they tell us we need to kill a former bandit who betrayed them who's currently hiding in the monastery. Unfortunately, since I'm a monk now, I can't post YouTube videos, so this one's gonna have to come to an end. Bye.